What is going on, you guys? My name is Rayge, and we are back today with an unlock video of the Apocalyptic stage for Morgan Le Fay's Pestilence Saga. So basically, Morgan's hardest difficulty. Finally had the chance to actually level up all the Dark Code characters to the required, T2 level 5 ISO blues, and as well bringing them all to level 90 with gear tier 17. So this is the minimum team that you actually need to partake in this final saga. I'll just quickly show you guys the power levels, but yeah, very excited with this unlock because I know it's been a long time coming and it takes a lot to build up the T2 level 5 for the ISO blues. Having said that, guys, let's get right to it. And actually felt very smooth, guys. So this is the team placement that I have, all of them being about 1.2 million, so quite a bit higher than the last time we've seen the videos I made for both the heroic and hard mode. But I mean, with this one, it does feel better and fine-tuned now that these characters are higher up. So first and foremost, we're going to start off with this mixed up wave here of the Unlimited X-Men with some aspects of Web Warriors. So what I would recommend is just taking down some of the damage dealers, but we want to focus on characters as well, like Val, where she does have a cleanse, so we want to be mindful of the characters like her and Dazzler, where their cleanse could obviously be taking away some of the negative conditions that we've placed on the enemies. There we go, one down there. So pretty smooth, honestly. You can see with my abilities. Once Val's down, we can start focusing on some of the damage dealers. But keep in mind too, we don't want to let these guys running loose too much, just because this Unlimited X-Men team and Web Warriors could have some deadly synergies. Obviously, you can see the damage they do. It could compound, so that's why it was good that we actually, had a lot of this offense down, defense down, and so forth. So I am right now just targeting damage dealers like Sunfire, just getting them out of the way so that way they're not dealing damage to us. But make sure you're obviously, planting the vulnerables here and there across the different enemies, and then stunning as well where need be if you see that there's a potent ability that's coming. Sunfire's down next, and then I see that in the corner there we can clean up quite easily, so we go ahead and do that. Easily 3 characters down now right away. And again, who I target now is just going to be based on applying some negatives here, but we can see right after that there is going to be a wave of this Cloak and Dagger mix here with Black Bolt. So this is probably where things can ramp up if we're not too careful, especially a Cloak and Dagger having very powerful ultimate abilities. You can see that, obviously with Spider-Punk landing his ultimate, but it doesn't do much to us because thankfully this is outside of raids. But we strategically planted and saved our Doctor Strange Heartless ultimate, so he can do some really devastating damage in this wave. And that's why I really highly recommend, guys, if you're able to save his ability and not use it like I did, you can see even after that new wave drop, we just completely wiped the board there, cleaned up, and then finally at that point we had a chance to stun Dagger. And now this other wave that just spawned as well with some healers. Back to that Phyla-Vel combination with the cleanse, so just be mindful of that. And obviously Moondragon having a heal too, so we do want to target her. Thankfully too, some tanks like Culp City and not that great. We still have Dagger being stunned from before. So what I found really helpful, if you guys are following similar ISO 8s, is that you can just see how powerful Morgan Le Fay does with her striker. Just getting those double attacks and that secondary ISO striker for the second attempt with her basic just does damage every single time, and it's pretty sizable. So like if you guys are following along, you see that Phyla-Vel does use her cleanse. Not a big deal. You can see some negative conditions still stuck after, so not a big deal, but it obviously helped to target her. But we wanted to take down some of these squishier enemies on that right cluster to clean up, right? And then at that point, when you're able to clean up that right side, you will see the final wave here being Black Bolt and another Dagger that's joined the battle. Phyla-Vel, easy cleanup, as you can see with the double striker attack. And now we're just focusing. And keep in mind too, guys, the one nice thing about these nodes is that they don't carry over, so we are able to fully utilize all our abilities, as it's not like Dark Dimension or when we're going through Pocket Dimensions, Dark Dimensions, raids, the energy and everything does not carry forward. So we can go ahead and use everything we want and clean up this and obviously wipe them to a utter finish here. Dagger goes down. I recommend leaving Culp City in here just because he's a tank. It doesn't really do much. Focusing damage dealers at this point, like Black Bolt, Spider-Man, getting them out of the way is going to be the high recommendation here. There we go. Easy finish. So I don't think a lot of folks will have an issue with no one. Pretty straightforward if you just follow the attack order and aim for, again, the high offensive enemies. Now with this next node, same thing as usual. We're going to start things off with a bang. Morgan Le Fay's ultimate, applying those really devastating ability blocks. we do want to be focusing on key characters like Squirrel Girl and as well Kate Bishop, just because of the fact that, you know, they're going to be providing a lot of support and sustain. We also want to be mindful of that Phoenix as well. Now, as shown, what was really helpful is just stunning Squirrel Girl and actually extending it even by an additional turn, thanks to Scarlet Witch's ultimate. So I really like that aspect. As you see, just doing some devastating impact there with a lot of negative conditions here being applied to the enemy. Absolutely huge, guys. So again, looking really good for us, but again, highly recommend. You have to take these ones down before, and you can see now that we get the return rewind with Morgan Le Fay's special, focusing Squirrel Girl, and she's gonna be taken care of like nothing. And that's a great first character to focus down, especially since she provides a lot of the sustain and support for the Young Avengers in this mixture. Next up, I am going to be targeting now, as you can see, Kate Bishop. Again, recommending, you know, Agatha Harkness's ultimate, combinating that following Morgan Le Fay's ult. It just keeps a lot of negative and debuffs actually on our enemies, which really helps us control the battle, but as well making sure that we have the advantage in terms of the buffs. There we go, and move Kate Bishop down. I recommend, similar to like the last note, try not to use more Doctor Strange Heartless's abilities just yet, because it seems like the timing, enemies always just seem to drop after. So you can see right after I skipped his turn in terms of using a basic, more enemies actually arrive in this wave, and it's going to be a great positioning now to use his ultimate, because it just deals so much damage, so we might as well maximize the output of that. Once you take down Squirrel Girl and Kate Bishop, it's actually a really good opportune time to focus on characters like Magic, because Magic is going to give that second win to Phoenix, but we also want to be mindful of characters like Gamora, where, you know, they do a lot of damage, and again, we want to be mindful of any enemies that have that high offensive output, so that way we can control that damage and making sure that we can actually take down these enemies, especially if they're tankier. Those ones can be left alone because they don't do that much damage. As you can see, a devastating Doctor Strange Heartless ultimate is exactly how we want to let things go there. We see that Magic and both X-23 are getting quite weak, so we're going to focus on them just to clean that up a little bit here as well. So looking really good, but again, just a reminder, guys, it's all about just making slow progression here and controlling the waves. It's not as crazy as Dark Dimension when you're going through it, but I mean, just making sure that you guys are having a game plan in terms of an attack order, absolutely huge, and you don't want to let characters you know, run free like X-23, right? So that's why we do want to focus her, but as well, Magic reduces now that chance for Phoenix, and we're not rushing to kill Phoenix either, just because she doesn't do much in her original form. Dark Phoenix is more of an issue just because she has some pretty strong abilities, but again, statistically, you know, right now she's power crept in the game, so thankfully not too powerful of a character for this node especially. At 8 out of 13 enemies, you're going to find that the last and remaining wave of the enemies are going to spawn. So we're going to be focusing now on this entire big cluster. So this is where it could be problematic. So that's why it was great that we actually landed the stun on X-23. Phoenix doesn't have Magic anymore, but Merc Lieutenant, I would say he's probably a really good one to target first off, just because he's A, squishy, and B, he provides a lot of buffs. So taking him out of the picture is just going to take away an advantage they're going to have with buff. So he easily goes down, which is great. And again, we're combinating Morgan Le Fay's ultimate, extremely devastating. Phoenix finally goes down, so Dark Phoenix is here to battle. But once she's out, I would strongly urge just to focus her because she's super squishy. And then at that point, it's pretty much smooth sailing, guys. These guys are not going to be an issue. Storm, Cyclops, Nebula, X-23, and Adam Warlock, super easy cleanup. Just fast forwarding here to save you guys a bit of time, and as you can see, Storm and Adam Warlock remain to be the last two. And again, you shouldn't have an issue after all those big targets are taken down. But like I said, I don't think Node 2 is generally problematic for a lot of folks. It's more so the later nodes when you're going through the Apocalypse stages. But I want to make sure I get the full video for you guys, so that way if you are having issues, you guys are able to at least see the attack order and kind of how I did this. So easy win here. Obviously cleaning up now, heading into Node 3. So again, similar setup, guys. Starting things off with Morgan Le Fay's ultimate. This is one where I could see it getting problematic if you're not handling the waves carefully. So first and foremost, we definitely gotta target the Dad brothers to the right, just because they are the two to be focusing on, just because they do a lot of damage, and especially combinating with Ghost Rider's passive damage. So first things off, it doesn't really matter. I think Longshot, Shatterstar are pretty equivalent, but I decided, you know, just to apply slow on one of them. Then obviously utilize those abilities with debuffs, extended with Scarlet Witch, and once again we're kind of starting the same rhythm that we typically do. We use Wong's ultimate, that way he's grabbing the taunt, and I would start working on one of the Dad Brothers. They're both pretty consistent and similar, so it doesn't really matter. So as long as you're focused on one of them, at this point you should get Morgan Le Fay's special to rewind everything and be able to pinpoint and focus at least on one or two of the Dad Brothers, right? I saw that I had a striker ISO on Ghost Rider, so I decided to switch there and pivot, but obviously at the end of the day, just focus on those three. Ghost Rider being stunned is really nice, because then if any of the enemies fall, he's not going to be doing passive damage. So you see here, we can start getting some first attacks initially from the enemies here, and then we do see that because Ghost Rider is already stunned and there's some vulnerables on him, we want to take advantage of that. But again, that's going to be the focus of this initial wave, right? Focusing on these enemies, and I opt to take out actually Ghost Rider, and then I see a great time to use Doctor Strange's Heartless Ultimate. Once again, just a game changer of an ability if you guys are able to bring him up, especially with him having a powerful creating ratio, just some really devastating damage. You're able to capitalize on that. So with Ghost Rider down, now we can kind of focus on that right side, taking down the damage dealers, being the Dad Brothers. So at that point, it should be pretty short work. We are now expecting a new wave to arrive pretty quickly here, as we've seen from the other nodes, where when you take down, you know, a couple of the first enemies, they do spawn. So you can see a 9 out of 11 enemies that does happen here. So we see that combinating here. Red Guardian's pretty weak, but we want to make sure that we're being mindful of these damage dealers like Morbius. Greg's there. I like taking Greg down too. It increases Hela's speed turn meter, but it also gives Doctor Strange Heartless, obviously his passive is more charges, so kind of give and take. I was kind of just, you know, going back and forth between that. At the end of the day, though, do focus on damage dealers like Morbius, and keep in mind too, they have Rescue, and Rescue can actually cleanse negatives on the team. So just something to be mindful of. Not a deal breaker in this initial wave, just because of the fact that these enemies aren't that powerful. But if they get some good bleeds on you, especially with Morbius, it could be devastating. But thankfully, they don't have any crazy heavy hitters in this wave, and it's more so just the debuffs that can be placed on us, right? So just something to be mindful of. We go ahead, we finish Morbius, and you can see there's a barrier coming from Rescue. Again, not a big deal. It looks like it can look like a scary wave, but actually not that bad whatsoever. Just gotta make sure you're managing the waves. I love Doctor Strange Heartless's AoE damage as well that he does, especially with the Gregs being around. And again, him just getting that regenerative capabilities from each enemy falling down. We go ahead, we finish off Morbius here, or pretty close, darn it, and then finally we can actually go ahead. A couple of things you can do. You can clean up the enemies that are weaker, but keep in mind too, Agatha having a stun, I recommend maybe stunning a damage dealer like Elsa, so that way not doing damage. Rewinding Hela, obviously that always helps, just to make sure that these enemies are controlled. But at this point, pretty straightforward, guys. Once we take down the damage dealers, this is going to be a very, very easy cleanup. There we go, and this is kind of what ended up happening here. So these were the last 4 that was left in this wave, guys. So the remaining ones I just cleaned up. And again, if you're ending up with these ones like Scarlet Witch, Voodoo, Rescue, they don't do any damage. So it's actually great to have these guys. And again, you don't need to conserve abilities. Similar to what we see in the previous nodes, go ahead, use all your abilities and clean up. Super straightforward. There we go, and on to node 4. So with this node, I already start things off with Morgan Le Fay's ultimate, as you can see, and then follow that up by Agatha Harkness's ultimate as well. So this is where things probably start picking up in terms of difficulty, so just gotta be mindful of. Now I can't stress this enough, kind of similar to what we've seen before. Make sure that you guys are, you know, ensuring all the negatives are on them, and then activating Scarlet Witch's ultimate to extend it. But as well, the target of this initial wave is going to be, you know, Madeline Pryor as well. Surprisingly enough, Lady Deathstrike, you know, she does a lot of good, meaningful work on this initial wave. Taking her out as soon as possible is really important. You can see even my Wong getting stunned, it is going to slow down our progress a little bit, but not a big deal so as long as we're focusing on the damage dealers. And again, Lady Deathstrike being the first one, and then we're going to be following it up by focusing on the difference makers like Madeline Pryor. I like Scarlet Witch's basic to apply negative debuffs as well. And then you can see even just freshly taking down delayed death strike, it does actually spawn a couple of characters from the next wave already. So more of this Weapon X synergy with Mystique, Marauder synergy. So just something to be mindful of. But again, I'm shifting gears now and just focusing on Madeline Pryor, just because she's kind of a difference maker in this node, and we do want to wipe out with Doctor Strange Heartless Ultimate. So we're not afraid to use it there, just because we know kind of how, especially the bleeds that can be stacked on in this wave. So just something to be mindful of. Madeline Pryor goes down, which is perfect. We activate the special for defense up, just spreading some HP there. And then I think Strife is a very good character, to be honest, in terms of just soaking away damage and taking it away from his the fellow allies. So a good character to finish off. Thankfully, we were able to take him down. Another Strife does actually spawn, though, so the Jubilee is going to be an issue in addition to the Sabretooth. So you probably won't have a choice. Silver Samurai is going to taunt in that corner. Once that's off, though, I would switch gears. Once again, activate Morgan Le Fay's ultimate, because it should refresh by then. And again, we're in a really advantageous moment where a lot of negative debuffs, and this is really good for us. We want to keep spreading that around. Scarlet Witch basic, and then with the stun here, I'd recommend damage dealers or a stun maker of their own in Jubilee. So it's a good one to target. She's pretty squishy as well, which I like. So it's actually, this node is definitely one of the harder ones out of the 3 that we did, but pretty fast if you know kind of the attack order and who to aim for, right? Especially when you have the striker on Morgan Le Fay. Just see how fast she's just stripping away the HP. I absolutely love the damage that she can do. So just something to be mindful of when you guys are going through it. Obviously, it's going to take some time to get the T2 level 5 blue, as well as Gear Tier 17. But this is actually not a bad playthrough whatsoever, just because at this point the Darkhold team is a very, very good team overall. Their synergies really shine once they're all built up the way we see them right now. We go ahead, we wipe out Sabretooth. There is going to be another wave that comes. You'll probably have a turn or two to wait for those enemies to spawn as you wait here for their abilities. And you can see it's going to be a Baron Zemo, and as well Bishop. So he's going to have some synergy, obviously, with Jubilee. So just something to be mindful of. When he does spawn, he's going to get that taunt right away, but then it's going to give off. So at this point, focus on whoever's weak. I think Mystique's a good one. We got debuffs on Jubilee, so that's also good to have too. But yeah, Morgan Le Fay's special should rewind once again, and we want to take advantage of those damage dealers. So if you're able to land the ultimate, like as I just did right there, it's good to control that Bishop, just because he can do a lot of damage, especially if he gets his buffs off and synergizing with Jubilee. Thankfully, though, our team is just so tuned up in terms of the Gear Tier 17 that I don't think you'll have issues. But in case your team is a little lower than mine, which I don't think there will be, just because this is the minimum Gear Tier 17 level 90, and you can see we're doing just fine with those difficulties and ranking. So cleaning up here, and you can see finally then that spawns the last and final wave. And now we just gotta ensure that we're essentially just cleaning up everything else. So at this point, do a survey of the land, see who's damaged, who's weaker. The Beast can provide a cleanse and a heal for the fellow X-Men, so that is why I applied a slow on him, activate the ultimate. We stunned the Madeline Pryor as we did initially earlier. So I mean, it's just nice to always control her. But I would say a Beast is a good one to target in addition to Jubilee, just because they can provide a lot of buffs to this team. And as you can see, our team is powerful, but they still do some meaningful damage, especially with the bleeds. So at this point, you should be able to get a Doctor Strange Heartless second ultimate up. And that's going to do some really, really meaningful damage. So kind of hoping for that. And once again, Morgan Le Fay doing work with her striker, her double attacks, just completely wiping the floor. So make sure you guys have that on her, guys. I cannot stress it enough. Just the extra passive damage coming from each of her attacks. Just make short work of these nodes. It could honestly be a difference maker in terms of wiping an enemy from that turn that's needed. So at this point, 5 enemies remain. Super straightforward. Take down Madeline Pryor, Sabretooth, and you're pretty much in the home stretch. So we ended up here with Strife being the third last, and then Sabretooth and Iceman being the final 2 here. So that's kind of how it ended up being for me. But again, guys, if you can get to this final 2, final 3, or actually even the final 5 enemies, you're pretty much an auto lock to push through, especially if you have all characters. And keep in mind too, like this synergy of this team is beautiful. Once they get going with their stuns and slows and debuffs, they become unstoppable, especially if you're controlling the right enemies. So making short work and easy success through this node 4, and notably this was one of the hardest ones for Morgan Le Fay's respective saga. And the last, of course, is node 5, guys. Arguably either the second hardest node or the hardest node. So, I mean, kind of similar to what we just saw with node 4. There's going to be a lot in the beginning. We're going to activate, again, Morgan Le Fay's ultimate to apply some ability blocks and debuffs. We're going to follow that up once again with Agatha Harkness's ultimate. So pretty similar patterns. Again, the one thing to be mindful of is in this node, the Gambit's super frustrating initially, especially when combining Rogue. So Rogue was able to get her special off. Unfortunately, we don't really have a choice on who to attack then. She's going to be taunting. Gambit's going to be doing the passive attack. So that's where it is going to hurt a bit. But once you get through her, guys, watch. Wong's going to activate the ultimate to once again taunt, get some protection. Unfortunately, can't do much about the Gambit just yet. But once we get through Rogue, we're able to actually target Gambit, and he's not actually that powerful. It's just his passive attacks, especially with the heal block, is what makes it frustrating. So we'll go ahead here. You can see Rogue, I think, is the big barrier here just to get through. And even after all her buffs land off, finally her taunt is removed. And I would first and foremost target Gambit ASAP. If you're able to, again, capitalize on Morgan Le Fay's double striker and Agatha Harkness's assisted attacks, you can see we easily wiped out Gambit just because of the damage scaling that we can do. So at that point, Rogue's going to be pretty much out of abilities, right? She already used both the special and the ultimate, so we're essentially just going to target her. But make sure you're watching for that Shang-Chi. So I switch gears just to apply some debuffs on him, just to control him a little bit. And we know he can do an ultimate, obviously, to reduce her turn meter. But at that point, we were close to taking down Rogue, but then Captain Sam was able to activate his special, so now we don't have a choice here. So that might you know, happen the same way for you guys too, but we're gonna have the Doctor Strange ultimate anyways. Even if there was a taunt, the ultimate likely would have finished off Rogue. So now, perfect spot. Now it's pretty much smooth sailing. That initial section for this wave was pretty much the hardest moment. If you're able to reset and get the right luck, I know sometimes it's all a matter of how the abilities landed as well. So at this point, we should be able to use Scarlet Witch's special to kind of heal ourselves up. And the last thing to be mindful of is another cluster here. We got Cersei, we got Nick Fury, and as well as Agent Coulson and Wong and Adam Warlock, just to be mindful of. But if you activate the ultimate on time with Morgan Le Fay, it doesn't really matter because it's going to shut down Cersei. And at this point, I would switch gears and focus on damage dealers and taunts. So I focused on Wong because I don't like how he taunts, and then by stunning him and using Scarlet Witch's ultimate, we have that extra turn there, and now we can kind of just pivot a bit. And yeah, Nick Fury not having any kind of debuffs, we want to take advantage of that. So clear his boss. And once again, Morgan Le Fay with the devastating abilities, though. She can pretty much wipe out half the HP of someone. So absolutely beautiful. Love it. 8 out of 15 enemies remaining here. So we're looking really good. Now we're just going to focus on the key difference makers of this team. Cersei's obviously a big one. And then as well, after that, there's going to be another spawning of the wave. Pretty weak in my opinion. Calling Wing is annoying in the sense that she does have ability blocks. Excuse me, the heal blocks, which can prevent healing. But Dazzler's not going to do much without the synergy of the Unlimited X-Men, especially now that we wiped out both Gambit and Rogue. Pretty much making short work of this wave. So not a problematic whatsoever. Smooth sailing. I would just clean up these guards, get them out of the way, and it's going to be just leftover remnants of some synergy teams that we were able to clean up. Here we go, and just again, saving you guys a bit of time, these were the last 3 that were left in this wave. So I mean, again, that initial section with Rogue and Gambit, it's probably the hardest part. If you're able to get through that, pretty straightforward at this point, you know. These other Unlimited X-Men like Phantom X and Dazzler, they're not going to be powerful without their counterparts, right? And we can easily just focus on them afterwards, and they're not going to hold a candle to their full Darkhold synergy. So yeah, hopefully this is able to help you guys. Again, this is the apocalyptic stages for Pestilence Saga, respectively, for Morgan Le Fay, and it does unlock her final skin. But as well, you have to do all the apocalyptic stages before you can actually do the final apocalyptic saga for Apocalypse himself, ultimately unlocking the higher reds and yellows on him. So that's ultimately what I'm doing right now, just to get through that, because I know I've been taking my sweet time with it. But again, we were able to get the actually some really good materials here, but as well, Morgan Le Fay's pretty cool Unawakened skin that we can actually apply now. So I'll definitely get to that and show you guys here how that looks. And here we go, just right here. And again, if you hit the visuals here, you actually get the other skin now. So that's ultimately the other goal as well, so we can actually equip this. So yeah, hopefully this helps you guys navigate the waters for Apocalyptic stage, the Apocalypse stage. Obviously unlocking Big Boy Apocalypse later on, but I'll keep you guys up to date with these Saga videos. Thank you as always, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.